Feeling out of control is a common human experience, a sensation that can arise from external pressures or internal turmoil. But what if the key to regaining that control lies not in manipulating the world around us, but in understanding the world within us? The foundation of personal control is built upon a simple yet profound principle, distinguishing between what we can influence and what we cannot. This isn't about power or dominance over our environment. Instead, it's about a quiet, internal shift in perspective. It begins with recognizing that our primary domain of control is our own mind, our thoughts, our interpretations, and our responses. Everything else, from the actions of others to the unpredictable nature of life, falls outside of this immediate sphere. The journey to personal control is an exercise in focused attention, directing our energy where it can actually make a difference. At the core of this practice is self. This means paying close attention to our internal state without immediate judgment. When faced with a challenging situation, the first step is to observe our automatic reactions. What thoughts arise? What emotions do we feel? What physical sensations accompany them? This act of observation creates a crucial space between a stimulus and our response. Instead of being swept away by an immediate emotional tide, we grant ourselves a moment to pause and consider. This pause is where our power lies. It's the moment we can choose how to proceed, rather than reacting on autopilot. This is not about suppressing emotions, but rather understanding them as signals. A feeling of anxiety might signal a perceived threat, while frustration might point to a blocked goal. By acknowledging these signals, we can then consciously decide on a thoughtful response, rather than an impulsive one. A practical tool for building this foundation is the practice of mindful attention. This involves regularly bringing our focus to the present moment. We can do this through simple exercises, like concentrating on the sensation of our breath, the feeling of our feet on the ground, or the sounds in our environment. This training strengthens our ability to direct our attention intentionally. When our mind wanders to worries about the future or regrets about the past areas where we have little to no control, we can gently guide it back to the here and now. The present is the only time we can act, think, and feel directly. By anchoring ourselves in it, we reduce the mental clutter of things beyond our influence. This repeated practice builds a mental muscle, making it easier to stay centered and focused, even when external circumstances are chaotic or stressful. Another critical component is the re-evaluation of our beliefs and interpretations. Much of our feeling of being out of control stems not from events themselves, but from the stories we tell ourselves about them. An unexpected setback can be interpreted as a catastrophic failure or as an opportunity to learn and adapt. The event is neutral. Our interpretation gives it meaning and emotional weight. By questioning our initial narratives, we can regain control over our emotional experience. We can ask ourselves, is this interpretation absolutely true? Is there another way to look at this situation? What would be a more empowering or constructive perspective? This cognitive reframing allows us to consciously shape our inner world. Even when we cannot shape the outer one, it transforms us from passive victims of circumstance into active architects of our own experience. This leads to the importance of focusing on process rather than outcomes. While we can influence outcomes, we can never fully control them due to countless external variables. Obsessing over a specific result often leads to anxiety and disappointment. However, we have almost complete control over our actions, our effort, and our attitude the process. By shifting our focus to the quality of our efforts, we engage with what is directly within our power. For instance, instead of fixating on winning a competition, we can concentrate on training consistently, refining our technique, and maintaining a positive mindset. The sense of accomplishment and control comes from the dedication to the process itself, regardless of the final result. This approach builds resilience, as our sense of self-worth becomes tied to our actions, not to external validation or unpredictable outcomes. Developing a sense of personal agency also involves setting clear, manageable goals. Vague aspirations like be happier or be more successful are difficult to act upon and measure. This lack of clarity can lead to a feeling of helplessness. In contrast, breaking down large goals into small, specific, and actionable steps provides a clear path forward. Each small step completed offers a tangible sense of progress and reinforces our belief in our ability to effect change. For example, instead of the broad goal of getting in shape, one might set specific actions, like walk for 30 minutes 3 times a week, and add 1 serving of vegetables to every dinner. These are concrete behaviors entirely within our control. Checking off these small accomplishments builds momentum and self-efficacy, proving to ourselves 1 step at a time that we are capable of directing our own lives. Furthermore, personal control is deeply connected to personal responsibility. This means accepting ownership of our choices and their consequences. It's the opposite of blaming external factors or other people for our circumstances. While it's true that we are all affected by our environment, taking responsibility empowers us to act. When we blame, we render ourselves powerless, waiting for something or someone else to change. When we take responsibility, we ask ourselves, given the situation, what can I do now? This question shifts the focus from complaint to action, from passivity to proactivity. This doesn't mean we are at fault for everything that happens to us, but it does mean we are responsible for our response. It's a commitment to being the primary causal agent in our own life's narrative. Cultivating healthy boundaries is another practical application of personal control. Boundaries define what we are and are not responsible for in our interactions with others. Without clear boundaries, we can easily become entangled in others' problems or allow their demands to dictate our lives, leading to feelings of resentment and being overwhelmed. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. It involves clearly and calmly communicating our limits, needs, and expectations. It is saying no to requests that compromise our well-being and saying yes to ourselves. This is not selfish. It is essential for maintaining our energy, focus, and mental health. By managing our interpersonal space effectively, we retain control over our time and emotional resources, allowing us to allocate them toward our own goals and values. Finally, the acceptance of uncertainty is a cornerstone of true personal control. The desire for absolute certainty is a natural human tendency, but it's an impossible goal. Life is inherently unpredictable. The attempt to control every variable and predict every outcome is a recipe for chronic anxiety. True control lies in accepting this uncertainty and building the confidence to handle whatever comes our way. It's about developing trust in our ability to adapt, to solve problems, and to endure hardship. This is the ultimate expression of personal control. Not the power to dictate the future, but the inner resilience to navigate it, whatever it may bring. By focusing on our internal state, our actions, and our responses, we build a stable foundation within ourselves, an unshakable core of control that remains steadfast, no matter how the world outside may shift.